recently I was listening to a speech of a West Texas rancher, and he was a man who'd risen to the most important position internationally in a civic organization. Now, as a rancher, I can't say he spoke with flair and eloquence, but he definitely spoke with confidence and conviction. That definitely kept my attention. And I'm certain and without a doubt that confidence and conviction is what caused him to rise in the ranks. It was easy to see that he loves this organization with a deep passion that was woven into the depths of his soul. So he told the story of his 5-year-old grandson who sucks his thumb. And he had started school, and some of the other children were teasing him. It's really sad that he was 5 years old, they're bullying, but that's basically what they were doing. They were bullying, they were teasing him about him sucking his thumb. And this went on for several days, and then came the day when one of those children marched right up to him and boldly asked him, "Why do you suck your thumb?" Well, this gentleman's grandson boldly stood toe-to-toe with that bully, and he audaciously declared, "Because I like it." He stuck his thumb back in his mouth, and he turned on his heel and he walked away. Those kids never bothered him again. Now, to have audacity or to be audacious, it means to be recklessly brave, fearless, highly inventive, without restriction to prior ideas. Now, this year in the Godly Girlfriends Ministry, this has been our foundational theme. Audacious faith, courageous faith. To advance takes a special kind of faith, and we know that God has plans to continue to advance this ministry. Now, in Luke 7, we find the story of the sinful woman. And when we began to prepare for the 2017 Godly Girlfriends Ministry, God gave me these words along with the vision of the sinful woman. Now, her story is found in Luke 7:36-50, if you want to look that up, and I hope and pray that you will, because I'm not going to go through that whole thing right now. But I want you to know where it is in the Word, because that's going to become important with what I'm about to say. So it's at the very end of Luke chapter 7. Now, we don't know what caused Luke to name her, quote, the sinful woman, but apparently it was the sin that defined her. And I personally believe that when we see these nameless women in the Word of God, and there are several that don't have a name, they're called by something else, to me, I believe it's because God knows that we as women can identify more closely with them as these nameless faces could really be any of us. And we can identify with them when they don't really have a name. And sometimes we just need to insert our own name and our own story into theirs. Now, I love the drama interpretation that Nathalie does of the sinful woman, and I hope that you have probably seen this, or that you'll get a chance to see it, because it's absolutely amazing the way that she tells her story. But the way that God showed this to Nathalie is in this story, she portrays the sinful woman as the woman caught in adultery, the other nameless woman, another nameless woman found in the Word of God. So let's work off of that assumption for just a moment, because honestly, whatever it was that this sinful woman in Luke 7 was delivered from, she knew beyond any doubt or hesitation on her part that she had been saved from certain death. Now, during these biblical times, a woman found to be in the sin of adultery was stoned to death, and there was really no way out because the law said. So let's just imagine this woman for a moment who was dragged half naked into the streets, out of the bed and arms of a man who was not her husband, and thrown at the feet of Jesus. I truly cannot even imagine the terror she felt as she knew she was at the feet of a Jewish rabbi, a teacher that knew the law and would pull the trigger, so to speak, on her execution. So as she's thrown at his feet, she can't help but notice that this was not a rabbi full of polished flair and eloquence of the other teachers, but instead, this man was cloaked with much confidence and conviction and peace. And he kneels down beside her and he begins to write in the sand. And her tears were quickly mixing that sand into mud. Yet he continued to quiet her fears as she watched him take every heart-wrenching tear that was falling from her eyes and writing words of love and peace that only she could see. Words it could have said. Now we don't know what the word said. We don't know. She did. She's right there at his feet. She's watching. And I believe that these words could have said, peace, my daughter. I've got this. We all know how that story ends. But where did her story go from there? That's what we don't know. We're not sure of that, but what if she had a chance, an opportunity to encounter this man named Jesus just one more time? Now, the words that the Lord spoke to me at the first of this year as he unfolded in front of me the vision of the sinful woman that came into his presence, these are the words that he spoke to me. Do you have the audacity to press through the throngs of people in the outer courts, to walk into a house full of strangers, dignitaries, kings, and princes, to simply bow your face to the Holy One and pour out your whole life on the feet of the Holy of Holies? Do I have that kind of audacity? I don't know. I don't know. But this woman called the sinful woman poured a substance of expensive perfume on the feet of Jesus. And the air was filled with the fragrance, and falling on his feet were the contents of the alabaster oil mixed with her tears. That was a priceless substance. You know why? Not because the alabaster oil was so priceless and it was very expensive oil, but because of her tears. That was why it was a priceless substance to Jesus, because this substance was all she had, and she poured it out from the depths of her soul. Now, we've all fallen short. We've all sinned. We've all failed in one way or another. We as Christians have that chance every moment of every day to encounter him and thank him for all that he has saved us from, namely certain and destructive death. Yet it's really hard sometimes to press through all that junk and surrender ourselves, pouring out our lives and the good and the bad on the feet of the Holy One. But I'm going to ask you this week to think about this. Will you just try it? What if you fall at his feet and watch as he takes your tears and uses that mud to write words that say, don't fear, my daughter, I've got this. Embrace his love of you that is passionate and is woven into the depths of his soul. God says that if we will seek him, if we'll just make an effort, any kind of an effort towards him, he promises to draw near to us. And he won't leave us hanging. He won't leave us embarrassed or ashamed. He won't leave us there. He won't leave us not knowing if we're going to have our next breath, if he's just going to abandon us. He's not going to do that. But we have to put forth that effort. We have to be audacious in going through the stuff to just simply surrender to him. So I'm going to ask you to boldly declare over yourself that you're a child of the Most High God. Boldly declare that you're a princess of the King of Kings. Boldly declare that you have access to the throne of God Almighty. Boldly press through. Boldly pour out. Strut in your high heels of audacity. And when the enemy taunts you with why, and tries to make you feel like it's all wrong, you boldly declare to him, back off, bully. I choose to fall at the feet of Jesus because I